This is the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am your host, Colette. I have been through some months of really feeling into all that our collective has showing, and I have been sharing that on my social media about what's going on in the world with regards to what we've seen with COVID, what we've seen with the latest, the Ukraine and the Russians, and then China, and then now we've got Palestine and Israel and a different name, but the same story as to what is happening in our collective, and war is happening in our collective. Many of us will be turning a blind eye to that. Many of us are very involved with it. Some of us are very proactive. And I think it's time that we all started to really feel into what is our position in the world at this time. Are we ignoring it? Are we turning away? Are we actually being and spreading more hatred? Are we like saying, oh, it's the Palestinians, oh, it's the Israelis, oh, it's the refugees? Where is all that blame being projected outside of the self? And what role are we taking to actually say, okay, if this world is a big mirror, we all know about consciousness and the collective unconscious and how everything around us is all a creation of our own self, then that is definitely showing us that we need to change as a human race. That needs to boil down to the individual and say, what am I as an individual doing in this world to make it a better place? How am I identifying my own shadow behaviors, my own hatred, my own non-loving ways and patterns, and letting them spill out onto the world so that this world is then a big general mirror of all our unloving places, all our trauma, all our wounds, all our pains, all our projections, and ultimately not all of our healing and not all of our love. And so for me, this has been a very personal journey, and one that I need to be very careful with my wording on, because I'm not an expert in war, nor am I an expert in, the intricate details of war, and I leave that to all the others who are. But what I am an expert at is my own feelings, trying to be an expert of them, and realize that I am deeply traumatized by what's going on in our collective. I have had, like all of you, years of the COVID issue, the trauma that caused us all as individuals in different ways. And then the war, and now another war, and we're watching babies be killed and children die at the hands of what? What is the driving force behind this? What is really behind it? And how can we as an individual take our own little personal part in it and say, there is something I can do? I think it's really tragic that we find ourselves in a time, I know personally, that in school when I was learning about genocide and particularly the Holocaust, it seemed to what was to be focused on in England, was that I couldn't really understand how everybody stood by and watched it. And I think every child in that classroom felt the same. And now I stand by watching that and saying, yeah, I'm one of those people. Like, I feel completely helpless. And what do I do in a world that is culling people, that is taking out people? And how do I even begin to rationalize that, reason with that, and feel that inside? And I was brought back to that place where I sat in that classroom and I saw the image of the Buddhist monk who'd set himself on fire in protest for his people. And I remember staring at that photograph for a long time. And we were asked to put ourselves in his position and to write the dialogue. It was a very profound exercise for me, and it still brings me to emotion now, that someone would self-martyr themselves for their people or for others. And that has really come back to me in a huge flashback when yesterday I saw the story of the young soldier, Aaron Bushnell, who did the same. He committed self-martyrdom because of the genocide in Palestine and said that he wasn't going to be part of it anymore. There was a place of self-realization that as an army young serviceman that he was part of what was going on, and he decided to do something about that. And that made me think, what role do we all have as individuals? What is our role in this? Are we just going to pretend we don't have one? Because we do. Even if we're a silent one or an ignorant one, that's the role we've decided to take unconsciously. I don't have any answers. I'm not recording this for the answers. I'm just bringing together much musing that I've been going through and much upset and pain. You probably hear it in my voice this morning after my meditation. I really felt a ripple of pain and hurt for all the lives being lost and for this young serviceman. And there are many more, I'm quite sure, that we do not know the stories of. Also, mainstream media not reporting this. Not a shock there, is it, for us anymore? The manipulation that happens in our newspapers and our media to control people's thoughts and feelings. And I am left with the question on my lips, which I wanted to promote to you all, is what is my part and what do I do in this? How do I deal with this in a way that isn't re-traumatizing for me? And I want to say that in the least narcissistic way I possibly can, because my trauma is absolutely nothing in comparison to the people that are being bombed out there, whose families are dying, whose babies are dying in their arms. I know nothing of the extent of that pain, but I am trying to empathize with it. I am praying daily for those people. I am sending healing energy to them in my meditations and practices. I know there's more I can do. Spreading this message is some other small contribution. Sending money towards the effort in Gaza to help those that are starving and who are homeless. I think it's crucial that we ask ourselves, what is our role in this world that is at war? And how do we bring ourselves out the numbness and the frozenness to be part of the healing, part of the love, part of the solution to this problem? So I leave that thought with you today, and I wish you much love and many blessings. Colette.